and then we will put it on Facebook. So I am going to bow out, and I am going to let Cheryl take over from here.
Is there anything you wanted to start us off with, or?
Well, ladies, I just appreciate all of you being here for the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote. It is absolutely one of the most important things in our history as far as I'm concerned, and it is very important for the women to especially get out and vote this year with what we have going on. So at that point, Ms. Cheryl, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thanks. It's only been 100 years since my gender has had the right to vote. And that's 100 years out of 244 years that America's been around. That's less than half the time our country has existed. And that makes me, frankly, a little angry and a little nasty. When I think back on the struggles that our suffragettes had to go through, it always is helpful for me to remember that they were not given the right to vote. They had to fight for it. And I feel like we're still fighting today for equal rights, for reproductive rights, for racial rights, you name it. It's a never-ending saga. But today is a day of celebration. So not only for the right to vote, but for the right to fully participate in our country and our democracy. So I'm going to light a candle. This is my Ruth Bader Ginsburg prayer candle. So let's all say a little thank you to RBG and the notorious RBG, and support, honor, and remember all the women that not only vote, but participate and run for office. So thank you all very much. We're going to start off with Dr. Carla Brailey. You can find more about her at carlaforvicechair.com. And if you've got another website, that'd be great. Dr. Brailey has a very impressive resume. She currently serves as assistant professor to sociology at Texas Southern University. She's the vice chair of the Texas Democratic Party. She's a consultant and advisor for countless campaigns, educational entities, and community endeavors. Take it away, Dr. Brailey. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Cheryl, for hosting us. You did something that I was going to start off, but I think I'll still do it. I do want to acknowledge all elected officials. I know it's several of you all on the call, and you do so much for us throughout the year. All of us work hard. I particularly just want to highlight you because you're the leaders of our community. You're the leaders of our counties. You're the leader of our state. And then I want to acknowledge all the candidates on the call. This is hard work. It's hard work deciding to run, particularly since this is an event dedicated and highlighting women. It takes about 7 times to ask a woman to run before she says yes. And I'm thinking as the years go by, hopefully it's going to take less than 7 times. And then we know that most of the time, people, not just women, don't win on the first run. So to do it all over again, it takes courage, it takes tenacity. And so thank you for running, because when we run, our families run, our communities run. So it takes a lot to be a servant leader. And so thank you again for running. And then Tom, he's just on the battlefield. So I just want to just give him kudos. Like Cheryl, yes, we can clap, you all. I just feel like this is the one thing about Zoom. I'm always wondering, am I too loud? Am I having enough, fire? And we get all excited. So yes, we should have some excitement today. I should have starting off with like a rally so we could just kind of get it. I do want to just take a moment. 100 years ago today, women had been fighting for the right to vote for a long time. And so on this day, some women actually were given the right to vote. I want us to take just a moment, just like Cheryl did, and all get off your mute. It's gonna just be loud, or maybe not even loud, just everyone get off their mute. And I want us to take a minute to just call out women's names that have been on the battlefield, that their spirit is with us today. We're gonna need all the spirits, all the energy that we can to win this election. And so I just want to have a time to reflect for a minute. And if a woman's name comes to mind, just say her name.
Kamala
Catherine
Harris,
Albright
Betty
Turner.
Ritchie.
Okay.
Pam
Sophia
Jenkins.
Foster,
Elizabeth
Ann
Richards.
Richards.
Notorious
Barbara
Ann
RBG,
Richards.
Donna.
Elizabeth
Bell.
Cady Stanton.
Linda Hartgrove.
Shonda Pardue. Katie Porter.
Mary
Shirley
Terrell.
Elizabeth
Chisholm.
Stanton.
Wendy
Susan
Davis,
B. Anthony.
Anna Cupper.
There you go.
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Elizabeth Kate Stanton.
Dolores
Fannie
Puerta.
Hamer. Daisy Bates. Right?
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh, yes, yes,
There
yes.
you go.
So,
Michelle
Mary
Obama.
Stockton. Yeah.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ann Richards.
Yes.
God bless her.
Cecile
Love Ann
Richards.
Richards.
Barbara
My
Jordan,
mother.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't that feel good, you all, to say her name?
Yeah.
Yes, it feels good. We've been saying names for different reasons this season in 2020, so we may as well say and praise those names who've made a way for us today. And so I thought that would be a good way to start this off today. The ratification was the largest enfranchisement of voters in our nation's history. And so while we can celebrate today, we really commemorate, because at the end of the day, the battle for equality and equity is still not over. Yes, we fought for the right to vote then, but as you know, Cheryl started off the discussion today. We're still fighting for not just the vote, but for voices. We're fighting for a vote now that I'm telling people that while voter suppression is real, and while we cannot agree with what's happening with mail-in ballots as it relates to the post office, even the workers, you all, that work for the post office, who understands it's not just delivering the mail, it's not just delivering a ballot, but people are waiting on prescriptions. People are waiting for letters for their sons and daughters who are serving on our behalf in our country. So, I just say, encourage us to think about how all of that ties in together. And so we're still on the battleground. While today we are very clear-eyed about some of our shortcomings, in particularly, women of color were largely excluded from the movement that brought about the amendment. We commemorate that this day. And the foundation it has built for us in our modern democracy. I think at the end of the day, when we search our souls, we are all willing to work together. Unfortunately, we're in some of our most darkest moments right now, because we have I can't call him a leader, excuse me. We have someone who is occupying a house that was built for public servants of our nation. But we have someone there that is not serving the needs of our people in the way that our party actually pushes us to be the party of the people. So today, I'm calling us as women to do what we've always done, and we do it so well, to work together. I was listening to a recording today. It was an article that had an interview with Ida B. Wells' daughter. Excuse me, not her daughter. It was her great-great-granddaughter. And she talked about, she said, the commentator asked her, what would Ida B. Wells say today? And she said, she would say, continue fighting, continue to push forward the vote by any means necessary. We can't just have the right to vote, theoretically have the right to vote. We have to have the right to vote that it is a reality. Many of us on this call, we're going to vote. And we understand why we're voting. But there are a lot of people out there, including women, who can't get to the poll. They can't understand how they can go around even the mail-in ballot process. So we have to not only commit to vote this season, we have to commit to vote, have a commit to vote plan. When we're voting, how we're voting, where we're voting, who will we vote with? So that we're making sure that we're not only putting voted in practice, but we're making sure that we expand our base, that we go into communities that are always that are not always touched. And that's what these women did over 100 years ago. They marched. And women were still wearing heels, by the way, marching. I just wanted to just put that out there. I mean, you know, today, you know, we would want certain shoes to go and march, and, you know, women had full attire, marching, blocks. And they didn't have the type of stopping points that we have today. They packed, or they just didn't eat for that time frame. I want us to understand in the context what women did. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't like, you know, talking about the right to vote was something that was welcomed in a lot of conversations. And I tell people now in 2020, it's really not acceptable to not want a woman in the room. But the reality is, symbolically, they will now invite us in the room. But when we're invited in the room, we may not have a seat at the table. And when we have a seat at the table, they may not want us to speak. But our vote is our voice, and our voice is our vote. And that's what women did over 100 years ago, and we continue to do that as women. The fight wasn't over then, and the fight is not over now. And like one of our forever first ladies, Michelle Obama, said, we just simply don't have the right person in the White House. And let me tell you, nobody does it like women do it. And we are going to turn out the vote in 2020. We're going to make it happen, and we're going to dump Trump. It's time to go. We're going to do that by going blue. And I keep telling everyone, we cannot go blue without you. Women are going to win Texas. Women are going to win this nation. And we can get stuck on colors, blue or red. Right now, I absolutely love blue. I have my blue to show. But the reality is, when we go blue, that means we're serving people in the way that people have not been served in the last 4 years. It's no way that we should be in this place that we're in. COVID-19 can go beyond COVID-19. It could be COVID-20. It could be COVID-21. And the reality is, when you have us in the room, women, we will do the right thing. And so I want to celebrate us today. I want to celebrate us in a way that we know that we not only need the support, but we support others. Welcome, sisters, to our Texas Sister Circle. Thank you for having me to vote, to talk about voting with you today, because voting is our voice, and our voice is our vote. Have a good day, and I appreciate you all just celebrating this day. This is good when we celebrate one another.
Thank you so much. That was inspirational. I can't wait to vote as well. I got to fill out my self-addressed stamped envelope from the Trump committee and tell them that I am ready to crawl over broken glass covered in Ebola juice to get him out of office. Looking forward to that. Next speaker is Lucinda Windsor. She's a member of the Ellis County, Texas Democratic Women. Ms. Windsor, please go.
Thank you. Several weeks ago, as I was observing the television celebrations of the incredible life of Congressman John Lewis, an icon of the civil rights movement, I was struck by the stories of his insistence that those who fight for equal rights under the law must make good trouble. Good trouble. And then I realized that good trouble is exactly what our foremothers, the suffragists, did. They made good trouble. They made good trouble in order to shake the status quo. They made good trouble in order to seize women's rights to equality from the male population. Before the 19th Amendment, American women were little more than chattel. If they brought property or other personal wealth to a marriage, it became the legal property of the husband. Indeed, children of a marriage belonged legally to the husband alone. Wives were at the complete mercy of their husbands, and unfortunately, not all husbands were paragons of virtue. Slowly yet determined, more and more women decided that it was time to make good trouble, even braving all sorts of indignities. Some were beaten. Yes, they were beaten. Some were thrown in jail. And those who chose to go on hunger strikes had to suffer the cruel and painful indignities of forced feeding. And yet, they persisted. They continued to make good trouble for years and years and years. Then in 1848, they held the first women's rights suffrage convention in Seneca Falls, New York. In fact, they insisted that the convention be held there. I wondered what was so great about Seneca Falls. So I did a bit of research, and I learned that the Seneca Falls area had been the home of the Seneca Indians. But to my surprise and delight, I found that the Senecas, members of the great Iroquois nation, chose women, not men, to lead them. So I thought it was very appropriate that these foremothers of ours, the suffragists, chose Seneca Falls for their first convention. History tells us that though the women were unable to capture the ultimate prize at this convention, their determination to gain equality persisted through years and years, until finally, in 1920, with the ratification of the 19th Amendment, American women had at last won the coveted prize, the precious right to vote, to take their rightful place as equals with men in this democracy. Honoring such a monumental celebration and legacy, we women are celebrating this centennial year, working hard to place more talented women into positions of leadership. Women like Katie Porter, who knows how to make captains of industry squirm. Yeah, she knows how to make good trouble. Therefore, several nights ago, when Joe Biden announced that he had chosen Kamala Harris to be his running mate, I rejoiced. The stars surely must be in glorious alignment. Joe Biden had chosen a most intelligent, dynamic woman. Kamala Harris Kamala Harris commands respect among the powerful men of Congress. And when her questioning of people like Attorney General William Barr or Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh causes them to squirm, then it is evident that she is in control of the situation. Yes, Kamala Harris also knows how to make good trouble. The stars indeed must be in alignment. I'd like to close this with a statement that I have had on my pantry door for a number of years, and it comes from Pope Francis. Now, I'm not a Catholic, but I do think he's really pretty marvelous. Pope Francis entreats us to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I think that as a Democratic Party with so much so much terror and so much sickness and so many people wanting these days that we need to follow that. We need to make good trouble, and we also need to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna hear from Krista Castaneda. That's KristaForTexas.com. And as we all know, and if you don't know, you should know, that the Railroad Commission is one of the most powerful agencies in the state of Texas. As overseer of oil and gas in Texas, its reach is almost damn near omnipotent. Krista's prepared to handle that responsibility. She's an engineer, lawyer, and community leader. Her law practice is focused on oil and gas litigation, and we want her working for us and watching out for Texas. Go get them, Krista.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask my good friend, Judge Stacy, to jump on with me at the same time, because I think she and I have to depart for the same meeting in about 90 seconds. So Judge Stacy, can you also unmute and come on? Hello there, dear.
Hey, good to see you.
It's good to see you too. So it has nothing to do with railroads. It has to do with oil and gas. It is the most important race for the environment in the nation in 2020 outside of the president, because nothing's bigger than oil and gas on the environment, and nowhere is oil and gas bigger. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my friend, Judge Stacy, and let her say her piece. She's an excellent judge. You must vote for Judge Stacy and all of the rest of our candidates. It's so important.
Thank you, Krista. It's not an endorsement, but Krista's been in my court as a litigant facing 8 top male litigators, and she slays them. She does a fabulous job. So I know she'll do an excellent job because she does a fabulous job in my court. It's a privilege to be here. I'm not going to take too long, but I just want to take a note. While we're celebrating 100 years of the women's right to vote, that didn't include your African-American sisters in New York and California, were the only states. We were excluded until 50 years apart, but we still now must work together to ensure to make change. And I'm so proud of my background in women's rights. Before the Zoom hearing, I had a picture up of my mother, and it's to celebrate that she taught me not only the value of education, but the value of being tough, but also still being a Southern lady. That was further embedded by my education. I attended Smith College, which was founded by Sophia Smith, the first women's college in the one of the first, because Wellesley grads might be on there, one of the first all women's colleges in the United States to educate women. And believe it or not, the high school that I went to, the Hockaday School, was founded by Ela Hockaday. And Ela Hockaday had tea with Sophia Smith because Ela Hockaday wanted to start an all-girls school south of the Mississippi. So a lot of the traditions that we had at Smith College were adopted by the Hockaday School. So I've got a long history of supporting women's rights and really knowing and understanding what it means to be a woman and support women. And I'm so excited about this election because we are going to win and we're going to make effective change up and down the ballot. And I'm so excited. You're going to be hearing from a lot of my colleagues who are running. They're competent, they're wonderful. And if we're going to take the trash out of Texas and the United States, we've got to have women in there. Thanks again, Judge Stacy with an I Williams, www.judgestacy.com. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So Stacy comes from Dallas County, specifically the 101st District Court. She's not only going to bring experience and political balance, but also diversity to the bench, which is something we desperately need. So she does need our support, and we're going to do this. Let's get back on track. We'll go to Dr. Marsha Burnett Webster next. She's a candidate for Texas State Board of Education, District 10. It's Webster, TXSBOE10.com. She's a native Texan. She's got a military family. She's a mother, a dedicated educator, and lots of educational degrees to her credit. I didn't have enough room to put them all there. Another smart and accredited woman who wants to work for all of us. Dr. Burnett Webster is running for State Board of Education, District 10. Bring her values and experiences to all the school children in Texas. Take it away, Dr. Webster.
Good evening. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. And you pretty much covered everything, raised and born in this great state of Texas. So
when I moved back to Texas, I was deeply concerned about our students, and especially in the public education system in Texas. So that's why I'm running for the State Board of Education in District 10. I'm gonna give you a brief section on what is the primary responsibility of the State Board of Education. The basic requirements or responsibility with is basically setting policies and standards. And when we say setting policy and standards, hopefully we have an educator on the State Board of Education that understands students, understand teachers. But the State Board of Education, we basically review setting the curriculum standards. When I say the curriculum standards, I want to make sure that we get the history right in the history books, even if that means starting all over. I want to be able to review the curriculum. Reviewing and adopting instructional material, that's very important. We want our students to be worldly, academics that's based on data, on truth. We establish graduation requirements. All students, we have a variety of degrees once you graduate from high school. So we want to be sure that we cover all our students' needs academically and emotional also. I basically want to oversee the board members to the Texas Permanent School Funding. That's something that we need to keep an eye on, which is the money. We also responsible for selecting board members for the military reservations and also for special schools. We review teacher certification. We make the final review on whether or not a teacher is certified or not. And last but not least, reviewing the commissioner's proposal awarding the charter schools. And we basically get the last word on whether to veto that application. So I'm saying charter schools are important, but if you're gonna use taxpayers' monies, make sure that they set up some type of guideline or make them accountable like the public schools. The State Board of Education consists of 15 members. Right now we have 5 Democrats and 10 Republicans. State Board of Education consists of 18 counties with a partial part of Travis County. This is the grand opportunity to flip the Board of Education. And last but not least, I want to focus on the curriculum corrections. So putting our children first, that's what it's all about. Putting them first so they'll be able to compete once they step foot out of the high schools and to the world. They should be able to hit the ground running. So next I'm going to talk about voting, women voting. This is the exciting part. Today marked the 100th year anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. I'm gonna read that. It states, the right of a citizen of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by the state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article on legislation. So women, I need your vote. We are a powerhouse. We just have to believe it. Women are the backbone of education. Women have better voting records than men. Black women have the best voting record of anyone. Women have been fighting to vote since their arrival in America. We are 240 years old now, our country, but women have had rights to vote for only 100 years, starting, give or take, 1712. I'm gonna start with the first to vote. There was a young lady named Lillian Taft out of Newbridge, Massachusetts. 1869, the first suffrage organization was Susan B. Anthony, along with Elizabeth Stanton. Some of these women, we threw the names out at the beginning. Lucy Stone, Paulina Davis, 1819 was the National Women's Suffrage Association, which was Alice Paul, and the National Women Party, Harry Chapman Catt. But I don't want to leave out the African Americans. African Americans had the unaccumulative right to vote for less than since the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Several Black women participated in the 1913 parade, and they marching in various states, education and occupation delegation. Started with Ida B. Wells out of Illinois. They call it the Young College Women out of Howard University. Those were the AKAs. The Black women marched in Delaware, New York, and Michigan, along with a few more. We have Sojourner Truth, Mary Terrell, Anna Cooper, and also part of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, which I'm a part of. The last portion that I thought was very interesting that I guide my life and I really enjoy that Mary Bethune. The 20th century, they stated that she was a powerful and successful advocate for rights and for women's rights to vote. But she was also a part of the National Association of Colored Women. But at first they call it the Equal League Right. But it was so many oppositions, such as the bill tax. The bill tax was imposed by white lawmakers to suppress Black voting. And the next one was the literacy test. That was also required. So what Mary Bethune did, she conducted night classes to teach readings so they would be able to pass the test. And she was a really gung-ho on education and learning how to read and write. But before she passed away, she left a note for the next generation, and it can apply to all. And I'm gonna read it to you. It said, I leave you love, and this can apply today. I leave you love. I leave you hope. I leave you challenge of developing confidence in one another. We must have confidence in one another, no matter what, whether you have a college degree or non-college degree. I leave you the thirst for education. You have to have a thirst for it. You never stop learning. I leave you a respect for the use of the power of faith. I leave you racial dignity. I leave you a desire to live together with your fellow man. And finally, which is the most important one, finally, a responsibility to our young people. All of us that are running for office, all of us that are in office, I'm pretty sure all of us believe that. We never stop helping young people because they are our next generation. And we want them to get the best education, not half-heartedly, but the best. And in closing, we women are strong. This country was built on our backs, even though men have gotten the credit. Now is our time. We will win the vice president office in 75 days. And in 8 years, who knows? Maybe we will reclaim the presidency as a female. Now, leave you with a question. What are women going to do this voting cycle? Come on, ladies, let's think about it. What are women going to do this voting cycle? Where do we go 100 years from now? Because what we do now will affect what will happen in 100 years. And last, milestones in an unfinished journey. This journey will never this journey will never end. But like Lewis say, it's okay to get in good trouble. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to help the least of us. So with that, thank you for having me as a speaker. And my name is Dr. Marcia Burnett Webster. I'm running for State Board of Education in District 10.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Webster. Our next speaker is Julie Oliver, candidate for U.S. House District 25. I was writing my little, and it's julieoliver.org. I was writing my little intro paragraph. I said, well, this is silly. Who hasn't heard of Julie Oliver? And then who doesn't love Julie Oliver? I want to vote for her, and I don't even live in her district. I'll be voting for Rick Kennedy, and the two of them are going to go to D.C. and take Congress by storm. I think they can really bring some accountability and responsiveness to the Central Texas area in D.C. Tell us all about it, Julie.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. And wow, what a privilege to be on this screen with so many powerful women committed to change, changing their communities, changing our state, changing our country. And, you know, it's a monumentous occasion, 100 years for some women to get to the right to vote. So we do need to acknowledge that it was not the right for all women to vote. And that wouldn't come for several years. And so it has been a slow fight, but it is still a fight that we are all geared up to step into the ring for. And whether it comes to, you know, whether it's dealing with equal pay, whether it's dealing with putting women on parity so that they can have careers. I fully support Senator Gillibrand's Family Act because we need family paid leave. We honestly need paid childcare. We need paid sick days. And this is the sort of thing that women will prioritize. I've mentioned it before at several of my events because I'm a mother of 4. I said, can you imagine what we will accomplish when we are legislating or rendering verdicts from the heart of a mother? I mean, very, very, very different priorities, very different perspective. And we'll prioritize our communities. We'll prioritize the healthcare in our communities. We'll prioritize the education. That is why we need Dr. Burnett Webster on the State Board of Education. We will prioritize, you know, keeping our communities safe from gun violence. We'll prioritize taking care of our parents and our grandparents and ensuring that they still have Social Security and Medicare benefits. And so I think that we can truly change the fabric of our communities, our state and our nation, take care of one another, and do it the way that women know best to do. And people frequently will ask me, what's the first thing you want to accomplish when you get to Congress? I say, well, I'm a woman. I know how to multitask. So I'm going in with a bunch of things that I'm going to file simultaneously. And whether that's co-sponsoring legislation or filing my own, they're going to be a lot. I'm coming in with a stack. And I know that the group of women that are on this screen are just as committed to getting to work immediately after election. Some of them are just taking this from once that they're already elected, then they're going to be continuing on. But there is so much work to be done. And I am really incredibly grateful to be sharing this screen again with amazing, I mean, you know, I have to be honest, 10 years ago, if I ever thought I was going to see a screen full of women candidates in Texas, I think I would have been, no way, not in Texas. So this is just truly a remarkable moment, a historic moment. And to see so many women who are going to the Supreme Court in Texas, I am so incredibly proud. And you know, there's even a woman on this screen, I'm gonna call her out real quick, and I hope you're okay with this, Cindy, but there's even a woman I even talked into running because her district, Cindy Rocha, needs that woman's touch and that sensibility of prioritizing education for our children and not prioritizing silly things like bathroom bills. So again, it is an honor and a privilege to be running again, and I'm grateful to be doing this work with everybody, and I'm grateful for the sisterhood. So thank you, Cheryl, for having us. Thank you, Tom, for having us. I'm thankful for the enlightened men in our lives as well, of which I consider Tom. And I'll turn it back over to you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Speaking of the bench, I think we should spend some time there. Next on our speaker list is Judge Amy Clark Meacham. candidate for Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court. AmyMeacham.com is where you can find out more. Another trailblazer, Judge Meacham is running to become the first woman ever elected Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court. She's been presiding judge over the 201st District Court down in Travis County since 2011. We need the courts to protect us, and Amy Clark Meacham can do just that. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for that great introduction, Cheryl. Like Cheryl said, my name is Judge Amy Clark Meacham. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a small town girl from Lorena, Texas, and now a 3-term district court judge here in Travis County. You can see my Austin background in the back. It's great to be with you tonight. Like Cheryl said, I am the first woman in Texas history to even run for the position of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Texas. It's amazing. In our entire history from 1836 to the present and all of its different iterations, the Supreme Court has never had an elected female Chief Justice. They've had something like 190 men on the court and only 10 women. And so this time around, the current numbers on the court, there's as many women on the court as there's ever been. They're all Republican. It's been all Republican for 25 years. They have 3 women on the court. But if me and my fellow candidates when we win in November, it will actually be 6 women and 3 men on the court, which will be the first time there's ever been a majority of women on that court for sure. But what I want to tell you about tonight, because there's a lot of great stories, but I want to tell you about Hortense Sparks Ward, because I think she's a perfect person to talk about tonight. I say I would be the first woman elected Chief Justice, because back in 1925, every man in the state, including the 3 Supreme Court justices, were recused out of a case called Johnson v. Dar, land dispute from El Paso. And so at the time, the Governor Neff at the time, looked around, and Pat Neff, and he was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find 3 women who are licensed to practice law in the state of Texas and make them a special court. And so in Texas, there's a great story about the all-woman Texas Supreme Court in 1925. He appointed a 3-judge panel of women, and the Chief Justice of that panel, again, it was just a special court for 1 case, but it's significant, and it's a really cool story in Texas history that we teach now to 7th graders who are learning Texas history in their classes all across the state. Hortense Sparks Ward oversaw this case, along with 2 other female special judges, and they heard it, followed it all the way through, graded an opinion, and that opinion is still cited in many cases today in Texas case history. So one thing about Hortense Sparks Ward you should know and we should celebrate, she was a suffragist as well, a big and significant one in Texas history. She was the first woman in Texas to pass the bar, and she did that in 1910. She actually became a lawyer in 1918 and helped get women the right to vote. She was the first woman in Harris County to vote in Texas in history. So I want to give honor to her because I don't usually talk about her on the stump because we don't have enough time. We only have 2 minutes usually, and no one gets to learn the story of Hortense Sparks Ward. And I feel like in running for this position, especially in this year, in 2020, I want to honor her tonight as the trailblazer that she was, the first woman who ever served as Chief Justice on the Supreme Court. She served for 5 months back in 1925, and her story is an inspiration to all of us. Hopefully what will happen this year is me and my 3 fellow candidates, Judge Stacey Williams, Kathy Chang, and Justice Gisela Triana, will bring change to this court. It desperately needs it. It's been all Republican, like I said, for 22 years. And during that time, it has had problematic opinions when it comes to employment discrimination and sexual harassment. Those are things we definitely need to keep an eye on. And what you're seeing from this court in the time of a pandemic is they are issuing emergency decisions left and right in the area of evictions, where they have pulled back their moratorium and allowed evictions to continue. They are issuing vote by mail. Just this week, they rescinded a temporary restraining order that is requiring teachers to go back to school in Cypress Fair ISD in Houston. So pay attention to the court. It's super important. It's super important in the time of a pandemic and in the time of an emergency. And what has happened is a lot of times this is a sleepy court that not many people pay attention to. They have the discretion to take the cases they want, and they generally take business disputes. and stay out of the political fray. Well, an emergency has meant they're in the paper a lot. They're in the news a lot, and they're making important decisions that are affecting real lives right now. And they're also the court that will hear redistricting. They're also the court that will hear school finance. And so while we think, look at all these other important positions, and they certainly are, the congressional positions, the fact that we have a good chance to take back the Texas House, everything's incredibly important. But I would just ask that you focus on these races some, and I know that you ladies do, and you're going to spread the word about us to everyone, because we need to get in front of as many people as possible and let them know our stories and how important it is to have judges with integrity, with common sense, who will bring balance and fairness and just results back to this very important court, this very important role in Texas history. So thank you all so much for everything that you do. It's great to be with you tonight and to celebrate this historic day and to be able to, I guess, bear witness to Hortense Sparks Ward, who was such a great person in Texas history. Thank you.
Thank you so much. More women on the court. That's what we need. The next, speaking of more women on the court, let's get Gisela Triana on the court. She's going to be the first Supreme Court Justice to have served at every level of the trial courts, including the Court of Appeals. She's been on the bench for 24 years in the Austin area. She will bring balance to this woefully unbalanced court. You can find more at judgetriana.com. Take it away. Tell us more.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I can't tell you what an extreme pleasure and honor it is to be here with all these amazing, amazing women. I ran in 2018 for the Third Court of Appeals that sits here in Travis County. Had the pleasure of running with Julie Oliver and Kathy Chang, and we're back at it this time to make a difference. So I think the question that Dr. Burnett Webster asked is a very appropriate question, which is, what are we doing today after 100 years of getting the vote? What is it that we're doing today that our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren 100 years from now are going to look back? And, like Amy said, like Justice, well, I'm making you Chief Justice already there, Amy, like Judge Clark Meacham said, if we win this election, we have the chance of not only making the Supreme Court a majority women 6-3, but we have, out of our statewide candidates, out of 11 candidates, 9 of those are women. Let me repeat that. 9 of those are women, from Kamala Harris to MJ Hager, to Krista Castaneda, to Amy Clark Meacham, to Kathy Chang, to Stacey Williams, to myself, to Tina Clinton, to Elizabeth Davis Frizzell. We're all women. And that is an amazing, amazing feat that we have. We have come so far in 100 years. We are claiming our seat at the table. And we're going to do it this year. So, it's not only, you look at us, and it's not only that. Look at the people that are running right now. Out of those 9 women that are running statewide, if elected, 2 of them are going to be our first Asian Americans ever to be elected to these courts, ever to be elected statewide. We have 2 African American females that will be the first African American females to be elected to these courts, to be elected statewide. I will be the first Latina, and I am the only Latina, actually the only Latinx who's running statewide, but I will be the first Latina who's democratically elected statewide. It is sad that in 2020, we're still talking about firsts. We're still talking about representation and people on the benches that look like the citizens of Texas. And why that's important is it's a matter of values. You look at what the Supreme Court is doing, and I can argue that, being a mother, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a first-generation American. I'm a Cuban American. I'm a daughter of Cuban immigrants that came to this country in 1962. They were fleeing Castro, and they were fleeing communism. They were 18 years old. They came over with nothing but each other. My dad joined the Army, got sent to Fort Hood, and that's how, we're one of the Cubans families that actually is here in Texas as opposed to in Florida with all the other Cuban Americans. I grew up learning about or hearing about the horrible stories that my family lived through. I had a great-grandfather who was a farmer. His farm was taken away from him. My grandfather, who was in the military, was placed in jail for no reason. I had family members who lost jobs, who lost property, and my parents and their generation were constantly looking behind their shoulder, making sure that, you know, they were not being accused as anti-revolutionary. So I grew up hearing these horrible stories of personal loss at the same time that I was going to public school here in the United States, hearing about what a great system we had, this judicial system, this legal system that would prevent the government from taking your property, from taking your life, from taking your liberty without due process. That the government had to treat everybody equally and fairly. This thing called the rule of law that I fell in love with. So I went to law school, graduated from UT in Austin at the age of 22. And to this day, I'm so excited to be part of a legal system that stands for that. Except right now, and for the last several decades, this court has been held by 9 Republicans, 7 of which currently were appointed either by Rick Perry or by Greg Abbott to their current positions. And what has happened is, instead of being a separate, independent check and balances branch of government, the judiciary, just like in the federal courts with the appointments, we've all seen what Trump has done with his appointments. The judiciary in Texas has become not a separate and independent branch, but just an extension of the Republican Party. And I can argue that women and mothers are much better apt to take care of and be compassionate of the people who come in front of them than what they are doing to us now. We all know that this is the Supreme Court that told us that we could not vote by mail, even though we're in the middle of the worst pandemic of our lifetime. So if you're not 65 or older and you don't have an other illness, you have to go in the middle of the pandemic and go vote in person. This is the same Supreme Court that after in March, at the beginning of the pandemic, had put a hold and prohibited evictions. In May, when Greg Abbott wanted to open up for business, decided that we were going to go ahead and allow evictions and debt collections to proceed. So at a time where CDC is telling us shelter in place, this Supreme Court is allowing people who have not had a job in 4 months, they're allowing them to be evicted. People who have COVID-19 are being evicted with nowhere to go. So this is the type of Supreme Court that we have right now. It is so imperative that we elect people not only that are extremely qualified like we are, but that care about justice, that want to make sure that everybody that comes in front of us gets a fair shake and, you know, an even hand, that will apply the law with an even hand. And I argue that women, having worked harder to get our vote, having worked harder to get our rights, will much more likely be that avenue for change and that avenue for fairness that we need. So I am delighted to be running with, and I'm going to give out a shout to Brandon Birmingham, who is running with us. He is our Judge Birmingham from Dallas, who is our male judge looking to be a justice on the Court of Criminal Appeals, because he is, I think, Julie, you had said it, he's an enlightened man. And is with us all the way. So thank you so much. I'm proud to be your nominee for the Supreme Court, and let's get it done.
Great. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear from Kathy Chang. She's running for Justice Supreme Court, changforjustice.com. I'm not going to ask her to do her donkey impersonation, but I will tell you that it's quite impressive. She's a lawyer from the Houston area, but she's traveled to Central Texas on numerous occasions to work on her campaign, team up with local candidates, and knock on Waco doors, bless her heart. I'm grateful that a candidate cares enough about Texas and Texans to actually come meet us face to face, even when it's 110. She has knocked on doors with us before. So tell us more, Kathy.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. Ladies, I am so honored to be with y'all tonight and to be among so many great women running on the ballot this coming election. Earlier, Dr. Carla Brailey asked us to say the names of these women who had contributed to the women's rights and women's movement, and we all just couldn't stop saying the names. Well, years from now, when that exact same question is asked, the names of Congresswoman Julie Oliver, State Representative Catherine Turner Pearson, Justice Amy Clark Meacham, Justice Gisela Triana, Justice Stacey Williams, Justice Tina Clinton, Justice Frizzell, Justice Kathy Chang, and State Representative, I think I missed one, Cindy Rocha. These will be the names that will be echoed in that meeting, and countless number of women. As Justice Triana said, we're in 2020, and in this great state, in this great nation, to have the first in so many things this year. While that's a great thing for some folks, it is a sad thing that 100 years later, we're still doing so many firsts with respect to women. It is our time this year, and it is going to be the time that we as women stand by our side. It would be stupid of us not to stand with each other. For I've been the female all my life. I've been a feminist. So it would be stupid of me not to stand with my female colleagues. I am truly honored to be on this ballot once again. Folks, you have no idea when you say meet the constituents out in the various counties. When I went out there to Waco and knocked on those doors with Catherine Turner Pearson in the reddest of areas, we both had a blast. And this was over 100 degrees in the heat. Catherine, by the way, I think I still have the sunburn, that discoloration is still existing because we were out there for so long. But you know what? That friendship built from that, from those block walking, from the campaigning, and also with Julie and an enlightened men, Rick Kennedy. It is a lifelong bond that you can't tear. So this time, I know we're all gonna go out and vote for all the female candidates. But what we're best at, not just the voting, what we're best at is socializing and letting everybody know, spreading the word. It is not just the geographic areas that you're limited to. We have the internet, we have emails, we have texting, we have the phones that we can reach to anybody and everybody across the state and spread the word. Because we know we want to make sure we get the ID 10T out of the White House. And if you're trying to figure out who's ID 10T, if you write this down, ID 10T, you'll figure out who I'm talking about, because I was taught, don't say anything bad about someone, so I'm using the ID 10T. Folks, if we're going to get ID 10T out of the White House, it's going to be the statewide candidates doing that. We're going to have to turn Texas blue, and we will turn Texas blue. And in turn, we flip the White House. So I'm asking you, get the message out. Let everybody know. Like the motto in the military, leave no man behind. I'm telling you, leave no Democrats unchecked. While we may not have a straight ticket button, we can still vote down the ballot, all Democrats. It is, someone told me today, Kathy, we're a state of comfort. We want that one button. I said, that's not true. If you want a comfort, our nation would not be the great nation that it's come to know, except for the ID 10T situation. But we have a way to correct that. We've never been a country of comfort. We have been the leader in innovation, in creativity, and many more to where we are the way we are today. So folks, that one button that we lack this time, it's nothing. All we have to do is say, vote all the way down, everybody, all the Ds. Because when you vote for Democrats, you vote for Texans. So I am proud, once again, to be among so many great women and enlightened men on the ballot. I ask that you please spread the word and let's make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Next, Judge Tina Clinton is running for Court of Appeals. She's had 25 years of criminal law experience as a prosecutor, defense attorney, and a judge in municipal, county, and state courts. I would say that's well-rounded. Judge Clinton, please tell us more.
Thank you so much. It is my honor and pleasure to be with such amazing women. and on such an amazing ballot in 2020. I believe that we will look back and see that 2020 is a year that, though it was challenging, it has given us opportunities to rise. And as women, we are used to that, are we not? To challenges that we must rise through. And so I'm very proud to run on this amazing ballot. I have, there's 7 of us total that are statewide judicials. There's 3 of us that are running for the Court of Criminal Appeals, which is the highest criminal court in the state of Texas. It is myself, Judge Elizabeth Davis Frizzell, and our ally, Judge Brandon Birmingham. And the 3 of us make up your Democratic slate for this high criminal court. I think the best way to explain why this court is so important, and to also tell you a little bit about myself, is to let you know that I am a wife, I am a mom, in addition to being a Democrat and a judge. And as a mom, I think many of us take our duties with our children to be one of the highest and one of the most important. And it is so with me. I have a little 6-year-old boy who has learning disabilities, and he has been diagnosed to be on the autism spectrum. We have gotten him a lot of help, and he is doing so well, and we're so proud of him. But we also know that many children do not have the same type of resources. And many of them, without the type of help that my son has achieved, ends up in the criminal justice system, because that is where children who do not receive assistance, who do not get understanding and therapy end up when they have that type of disability. The Supreme Court, a while back, has ruled that in the United States, if you have a mental disability, you are not eligible for the death penalty. There was a man in Houston who was sentenced to death penalty in 1980. That was before that law came about. When that law came out, he petitioned for review, saying that he was not eligible for the death penalty because he was mentally disabled. And the trial court took that issue up, and they determined that he was mentally disabled and therefore should not be eligible for death penalty. The highest court of Texas in criminal affairs, the Court of Criminal Appeals, threw out the trial court's work and said that he was more than fine to be executed. The lawyers for Mr. Brown went ahead, Mr. Moore, Bobby Moore, went ahead and petitioned the Supreme Court. This was one that was taken up by the US Supreme Court, and they sent back the work to the Court of Criminal Appeals, and this is what they said. You did not use a standard that was scientifically based. You used a standard that would get too many people into that category by mistake based on a layman's understanding. And so therefore you need to redo the work and determine whether Mr. Moore is intellectually disabled or not. A year later, they rewrote the opinion and basically rewrote exactly what they did the first time. And Mr. Moore had his lawyers, as well as the Democratic DA of Houston, Kim Ogg, as well as the American Psychiatric Association, re-petitioned the Supreme Court, asking them to review this case yet again. And the Supreme Court took it back up. And in a very rare situation, they actually determined themselves that Mr. Moore was intellectually disabled, not able to be executed under laws of the United States. It took the Supreme Court 2 times to actually redo the work of the Court of Criminal Appeals. And at the very end, they actually did the work for them. As a mother of a son who has disabilities, as a judge who understands that you cannot rely on the Supreme Court to take up cases multiple times to correct them, understanding that Mr. Moore was denied parole hearing after parole hearing because he was put into the death penalty area and not life, which would have meant that he could have been up for parole multiple times by then. To see injustice after injustice occur on just one case as an example is to let us know that our work as Texans, as Americans, as women, as moms, is not anywhere near over. That when we win in 2020, our jobs just begin. Our jobs just begin to begin to get fairness and justice for Texans. So when I say that 2020 is an opportunity, it is an opportunity for women to rise and to make sure that our systems of government, that our systems and institutions are ones that Texans can rely on, because they have not had that voice in such a long time. And ladies, I am proud not only to run with you, but I'm proud to work with you as we make sure that our government, that our institutions speak for Texans and the values that we all believe in.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to see the change coming in our court system. Part of the change is the work in the background. Tammy Hart-Groves is going to speak next. She serves as the Senate District 22 committee woman to the Texas Democratic Executive Committee, also known as the SDEC. She's involved in local politics and in McLennan County and the Central Texas area at large. Tammy, please speak.
Thank you, Cheryl, and I'm honored to be on this panel with such great women candidates, and also with our some of our county chairs and our Texas Democratic Women presidents. I'm going to start with a little bit of history. Back in 1776, Abigail Adams wrote to her husband, John Adams, who was at the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. She said to him, "Remember the ladies." John responded with humor, "The Declaration already says all men are created equal." The 14th Amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the U.S. and the state within their residence. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. So with the 14th Amendment, women should have had the right to vote. But it took us 100 years from today past to get that done. In Seneca Falls, New York, in July of 1848, the National Women's Suffrage Association, led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, and 3 other women, Alice Stone Blackwell, Carrie Chapman Cott, and Lucretia Coffin Mott, met to have this Seneca Falls Convention to talk about women's civil and political rights. That was July 19th and 20th of 1848. In 1919, the 19th Amendment passed both the House and Senate in special session, but it had to go to the states for ratification. On August 18th, 1920, 36 states finally ratified the 19th Amendment. In 1923, the Equal Rights Amendment was proposed. As of yet, that has not been passed. The 19th Amendment was passed 100 years ago today, but women of color, Black, brown, Asian Americans, they did not get that right to vote until 1965, when the Equal Rights Amendment came in. And our Texas president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, is the one who signed that into law, making it possible for all persons to have the right and privileges bestowed upon them by the Constitution to be able to vote. Besides being SDEC committee woman, one of my proudest achievements was to be the president of Texas Democratic Women. Texas Democratic Women has in our bylaws that we exist to promote and influence the education of women to run and be involved in politics. So this year, many women are getting checks from Texas Democratic Women because we have many women running for office. They might not be as grand as the checks we were able to pass out when I was president because we didn't have that many women running, so we were able to give larger sums. But they are checks to help these women that have taken this bold step to step out, to say, I'll run, I'll put my name on the ballot. I'll have people harass me and call me names and do things that are unspeakable to my campaign signs. We wanted to thank them, help them buy some stamps or help them buy some push cards, things like that. We are so proud. I am so proud to represent women that are running for office. I have, you know, we even go down to our county commissioner's race where we have a woman, a Democratic Hispanic woman running for a seat on our county commissioner's court. If elected, she would be the first not African-American, Hispanic woman on our county commissioner's court. We have a president with the first African-American woman on our county commissioner's court who was elected in 2018. So we are making some inroads in red McLennan County, but we need to make more, and we need to get our sisters and our brothers out to the polls. We all know when women vote, Democrats win. Thank you. I enjoyed being with you, and let's go, Joe and Kamala.
I've got to unmute. I forgot to punch my button. So let's go down to Austin, stir some things up with Catherine Turner Pearson, KTP4Texas.com, running for Texas House District 56. It's certainly time for change down in Austin.
Yes.
Doc Anderson described as a piece of furniture. We would agree. He needs to move on. Catherine's just the person to send him packing. She's a native Wacoan, an archaeologist, and experience on the McLennan County Tax Board. I know you'll represent us well. Go away, Catherine. Go on, Catherine.
We get so excited.
I know. Take it away, not go away. Take it away.
Well, this is, you know, there's so many serious things. Oh, does she change buttons? Thank you. She's got her button on.
I've been changing buttons all night.
There you go. I've got lots of them. You know, this is such a celebration today. And I've thought about it for a year leading up to today, the 100th anniversary of, white women getting the right to vote. And reflecting back on it, my grandmother, who was born in Paris, Texas, was born without the right to vote. And I'm named after her. Her name was Catherine Albright, later Turner. And she was born without the right to vote. And she told me a story of, as a girl, going with her mother and her two older sisters from Paris, Texas to Dallas, Texas, to go for a march for the right to vote for women. And so they went. And then she said later, when they got the right to vote, she was not old enough. So she stood with her father and watched her mother and her two other sisters vote. And she couldn't wait till she was old enough to vote. And she said that she voted in the next election when she was able, and she voted every election ever since to the day she died. And she drilled into my head that nobody gave them the right to vote. They fought for it. They were always ladylike, but they were strong Texas women and they were fighting for it. And I think now I look back at it and I think, good grief, her granddaughter is running for the Texas House. And I think how proud she would be. Because there have been times in my life when I didn't feel like getting out in the rain to vote. Maybe I didn't early vote like I should have. And then I'll think of my grandmother. And I always go and vote. And when I've moved throughout my life from one house to the other, city to city, I have always immediately gotten registered to vote. Years later, my aunt, that grandmother's daughter, she marched and fought for the ERA. And she took me to my first NOW meeting. So I come from a long line of strong women, and I am so proud of those women. And my mother was that way. And so today, I want us all to look back on those women that led us to this point we're at today and just be thankful for them. And people keep saying, well, is it tough running for office? And I go, yes, it's very tough. There's been some real nastiness out there. But you know, if they can do it, I can do it. And now everybody else who may hear this message has to do their part. We have to go to the polls. It's still time to get registered. We need to register people. We need to get to the polls. We have to crawl over broken glass if we have to. And I'll do it in high heels because I always wear them. And we will get there and we will get this thing done. It is so time for a change in Austin. You have no idea. And let's face it, women get things done. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to let other people speak, but I love every last one of you strong women out there, and I will see you at the polls.
We will see you too. Cindy Rocha was here but had to leave. She's running for Texas House District 58 up in Johnson County. Want to be sure to give her some love. She's president of the Johnson County Texas Democratic Women, which we'll be hearing from in just a second. So she's seems like she's on par and ready to go. Part of the engine that makes this all work, it's not, the campaigns are great, but they've got to have some infrastructure, and that leads us to the county chairs. We have a couple of county chairs here, and I want to hear what they're doing in their counties. It's a thankless, stressful, rewarding, intense job. We need to be sure we give them all a huge round of applause for gutting it out and getting everybody all going in the same direction. Mary Duty, do you want to say a little something about what's going on in McLennan County? You got to unmute yourself. There you go. You got it.
There we go. Thank you for letting me go first, because I've got surgery in the morning, so I'm going to have to zoom out as soon as I'll zoom out high. I have to be able to see, so I've got to go home and get ready for that. But yeah, I'm sitting here like in awe of all these people, because I would have never in my wildest dreams imagined ever seeing this many women running for this many offices. Though I know that when women run, things change. And, you know, we had, I mean, Ann Richards was my my role model. You're never the same. And of course, my mother was a role model. She was 3 years old when women got the right to vote. Her mother was in her 30s. They never missed an election. And it was real clear that it was an important part of being a citizen to go vote each and every time. And a lot of young women in my, I mean, I'm fixing to be 70. A lot of people didn't get that sort of there and get it done upbringing that I did, and I'm just thankful that my parents sort of drilled that into me. That's part of our rent for breathing the air we breathe is to be a part of the system. When we look at what's going on in our country right now, we need that woman's touch, and I'm all about equality. However, there is a nurturing part of what we do that is sorely lacking in some of our leadership. And I do think that women make a difference when we get, and many of y'all have spoken about that this evening, how a woman's perspective, it informs our decision making. Judge Clinton, your story about that case and sharing the story of your son, incredible courage to share all that with us, because you know we don't a lot of times get a chance to make a difference like that. And when you tell somebody that, I will never ever go, oh, Tina Clinton, who's that? No, Tina Clinton's out there fighting for people's lives. It's that easy. It's that easy. I mean, it's for having met y'all tonight, I know now who we've got running. And I tell you what, it's one of the strongest slates of judicial candidates I've seen since all those women took over the Houston court last election. Was it 17 women? Kathy, what'd they do down there?
It was a total of 19, and a majority, with the exception of the 2 statewide. They're all one down there. And you know, every day for folks who go to the courthouse, they can't stop talking about how wonderful the new courthouse is now.
You've changed the face of government, and you know, here we go. I don't have anything else to say except that I'm just proud to be sitting here, but I do have to go because I have to get this eye fixed. So thank you for everybody here, and I know all of y'all are doing work.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. We also have the Bosque County Chair here, Mary Linda Burt. You want to tell us what's going on in Bosque County? You got to unmute yourself.
Bosque County is really working hard about getting people out to vote, but we also are working hard to get the polls staffed. That's been a problem. And we've had a lot of people kind of fall by the wayside, either health issues or what have you. And that's been kind of stressful. I have to say that this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, though I have worked a lot of different elections and with women too. And I'm very proud to do that. My whole family from way back, as a lot of you lovely women have said, your grandmothers, your mothers, we have been very strong in doing that. And one of the things that, or one of the women, obviously, that we have always talked about is Ann Richards. Very strong lady, liked her a lot. We are going to put out a lot of postcards to get people to vote. I have sent out on the internet all the ways that people can vote, the vote by mail. Be sure that you can do the curbside voting. And if you need any help, just give us a call. And the one lady who is beside me all the time is also, she was the county chair, is Pat Toombs. And she's been a wealth of, a lot of education and help for us getting this out. And I'm really proud to be able to help them at all this time.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see growth in Bosque County. I've worked with Pat a lot. So I'm glad to see that's really taken off. There's another group of folks that we have here that works in the background, pushing us forward and alike and ahead. They are Texas Democratic Women. They're a powerhouse of work and ideas and fortitude and just plain get her doneness. I'm going to let Cheryl Gray from Johnson County, TDW, say a few words and let us know what y'all are doing up there.
Oh gosh, Cheryl, I'm just very honored to be here with such powerhouses. Many of them I met at the TDW State Convention in February. And I will say, back some time ago, I had what you call the bunker mentality. I was not afraid or ashamed of being a Democrat, but I didn't see much point in opening up my mouth or anything. And I after the Kathy's friend, the ID10T, got into office, I thought, this is it. I'm tired of it, and it's time to do something about it. And I have to say that Texas Democratic Women is the organization to belong to and to feel like that you are making a difference. And after midterms, I saw we were making a difference. And I was just, my first ever state convention, I was just thrilled. And I have to say, our virtual party convention back in June was thrilling. It was absolutely thrilling. We pulled it off without a hitch. It was wonderful. So I'm so glad that y'all allowed me to be here tonight and to say just a few words. And go ladies.
Yeah.
What were my little elementary girls always saying? Girls rule, boys drool.
Yeah. I'm going to remember that one. That one may go in a cross stitch somewhere. From Ellis County, Texas Democratic Women, Linda Bignard, and I'm not sure I'm saying that right. Unmute yourself and tell us what's going on in Ellis County. There we go. Yes, we can hear you.
Well, we're in bright red Ellis County. I don't know if you're familiar with Ellis County. We don't have any women candidates, local candidates, but we're still working on that. We plan to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment in the spring, but due to COVID, we had to cancel. So Lucinda, who gave this talk earlier, got her chance. She was going to be our guest speaker, so she did her speech to y'all tonight. So we appreciate her doing that. We're a group of 45 diverse, dedicated women and men. And our group was founded by Joanne Jenkins shortly after the state organization was founded, I believe in 1987. Is that right, Tammy? And we have a generous group. We do a lot in our community. We raised $2,300 for candidates at a fall fundraiser last year, and we've donated all of that. We give away a scholarship once a year to a female high school graduate. We have a baby shower every year for Hope Clinic, which supports the underserved in our community. They prepare bags for expectant mothers just before delivery. We just finished sending out 1,700 voter registration applications to unregistered voters in Ellis County that were identified by the Texas Democratic Party as likely to vote Democratic. And we included a handwritten letter with each of the applications with the person that wrote it explaining why they thought it was important to vote. We donate monthly to North Ellis County Outreach, a food distribution center in Ellis County. And we also support the Waxahachie High School Culinary Department's restaurant, the reservation, by dining there as a group. So we're always looking for opportunities to make our Ellis County aware that Democrats do live here. And but I appreciate the joy of being around and a part of this conversation with such great women. I admire all of you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work there. I'm one of the leaders of the local indivisible group, Syntax Action Network, and it has been my honor and my privilege, and I have learned so much from Mary Mann, the TDW leader, past president of the Central Texas TDW group. I am going to let her finish up strong because she's our last speaker. Go for it, Mary.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl, and you have done a wonderful job tonight. As usual, you're such an inspiration to all of us too. You've done fantastic work with Syntax Action Network. Let me see if I can get through this, people. As immediate past president of Texas Democratic Women of Central Texas, and we are Central Texas because we cover 5 counties: Waco, McLennan, Marlin Falls, Groesbeck, Limestone County, Hillsborough, Hill County, and Bosque County. And so we draw members from all of those counties and have done some fabulous work because of people like Tammy Hartgroves, who is our past president, as well as our past state president, and many others. And one of them was my mom. So as many of you have stories of inspiration from your parents, from your moms, on this anniversary of our 19th Amendment, it's heartwarming to hear all of you. It is especially thrilling to me with 25 years with Texas Democratic Women to know that we have a slate of candidates such as you tonight: Marcia Webster, State Board of Education, Catherine Turner Pearson, our judge candidates. I'll forget someone if I'm not careful, so I'm going to say our justice candidates, judge candidates. It is absolutely wonderful. I was sitting here thinking of ways that we can, put you all in a picture together to give to some of our Facebook and social media outlets so that we can say, look at these women who can make a difference, and tell stories such as Judge Clinton's story. And it's inspiring because of this election. Last night's national convention, watching for 2 hours, I thought, oh, it's going to take forever, and I was going to be like Roger Isom and probably go to sleep, but no, I couldn't go to sleep. So I don't know how Roger went to sleep, but he blamed it on Benadryl. But ladies and gentlemen, Tom, you have done a fantastic job, and we are so proud to have you as our SDEC committee man. You and Tammy are going to burn it up, and I can't wait. All of you, candidates and women working behind the scenes, watching Mary Duty today, she wears me out every time I'm around her because she's such a force of energy and gets so much done. We all have work to do. And yes, I can't do justice to the fact that we are doing a whole lot of work right now, but we're going to have to take a deep breath, and for the next, 70 something days, do more. And everyone, thank you so very much for honoring our 19th Amendment by your actions, by your support, by your inspiration to hundreds of young women across our great state. It's fabulous, and it's going to be amazing if we all get out and do our work and do the postcards, do all of those things that it takes to make a good campaign and make a difference. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Kathy Ching, my granddaughters loved their new masks they got today when they were working with me at the office. So that's what it's all about. Those two little girls explained to me on the way home today that Graham sold signs. She took up money for candidates, and they named several things that Mary Duty was doing while they watched her. And that is what it's all about.
Yep.
My grandkids. So thank you.
Give them a hug for us,
let's
Mary.
Enjoy this night. You better believe it. And a hug to each and every one of you for all that you do, because I know it's so much more. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you, Mary.
it.
Carol,
Give him a great hug
Carol,
for
I had to
me.
say something.
Thank
Carol,
you,
I came back
everyone.
on to say something.
I just put a
Yeah,
picture of everybody on
Okay.
a group picture on Facebook.
All right.
If you're my friend on Facebook.
Mary, what'd you have to say?
well, I got off then. I was being all selfish and I was getting my stuff and I was fixing to leave. And it was like, wait a minute. The screen was full of people that I work with every day and that are part of that fabric that we've knitted together that is now a larger fabric and it's going across the state. And the only strength we have is in the strength of each other. Mary and I are like, we're twins. We're not twins, but you know what I mean. We've got so much that we do together, and I can see that kind of kinship across this. We're gonna do some changing, and it's not. All I do is shuffle paper and talk people out of money. That's all I do. But we're gonna make a difference, and it's gonna be because of y'all.
Thank you.
Mary,
It
thank you
takes
so much
all
for
of us.
everything. It takes everybody. It's just, and we'll do it.
We will. Tom, do you want to
That's
wrap
it.
it
I'm
up?
out.
Yes, I just want to say thank you very much to every one of the wonderful ladies and candidates that have been here this evening. I absolutely enjoyed it. You know, I know there are a lot of people that are watching the Democratic Convention online and on TV in different places, but they can have that. Sitting here watching all of the ladies speak here tonight is more impressive to me and more exciting than watching anybody else. So thank you very much for being here. Looking forward to seeing all of you at the polls and all of you winning your elections. And thank you, ladies. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mary.
everybody.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Cheryl.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.